We are recording the interview of Matthew Nunemaker. This interview is being conducted by David Morse from the Wright State University's Veteran Voices Project. This interview is being recorded at Wright State University's Veteran and Military Center in Dayton, Ohio. It is 10:05 a.m. on December 14th, 2017. All right, Matt, let's go with, start off with when and where you were born.
Hanover, Pennsylvania in 1988.
1988. Okay.
Doing a month and date. I can give you that too.
No, it's fine. Who are your parents?
Marie and Rick.
Marie and Rick. And what were their occupations?
My dad was in the Army. He did supply and logistics. He did that for 32 years. My mom was also in the Army for a little while. She got out and she's done all kinds of stuff. But right now, I think she works as a office manager of a alcohol distributing company in Colorado.
Okay. You have any siblings?
I have a sister.
A sister.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was in the Army for a hot minute and then got pregnant and got out.
So what did you do before you joined the military?
School. That's really about it. I joined right out of high school.
Joined right out of high school.
Yeah, I think I had graduated in May and joined in September. So I had a summer of freedom.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just bouncing from job to job to job. Nothing really found interesting.
Okay. What high school did you go to?
Horizon High School in Colorado, in Denver, Colorado.
Okay. So you said you joined right, basically right out of high school. What influenced you to join the military?
Well, I didn't think I was going to be getting into college, so I said I got to figure out something to do with my life, and I didn't think going to college was going to be something for me at the time. So and everybody else in my family had served, so I wanted to give it a shot, and I was told that I had to go try the Air Force first because I was smart and I wanted to do, and I seen what the Army lifestyle was, and I've been to the Air Force bases compared to the Army bases, so I was told try the Air Force first, and if I didn't get that, then we'll go from there. But I got into the Air Force. Heck, I was in DEP. I missed my first day of high school because I was in MEPS. My first day of senior year because I was at MEPS.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had already planned this while you were in high school to join.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was telling my recruiter, said the only way I'll get out of this is if I get a scholarship for a sport, and I didn't get any scholarships for sports. I was stupid, and I was a stupid 18-year-old. So
I think a lot of us were.
yeah.
All right, so you decided to enlist into the Air Force.
Yes.
And what year was it that you graduated and then ended up?
2006.
2006. Okay. So you enlisted in the Air Force. Did you know what you were going to be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be a cop from day one.
From day one. Wow. Okay. So did you end up filling out that form and saying that you're going to be a cop, or did you go in open enrollment?
Oh no! I went in. They said pick 3 jobs. It said security forces. She goes, "What's the other one?" I said none. Just security force. She goes, "Yeah, that won't be an issue." I guess that should have been flag number 1 of, hey, are you sure you want to do that?
That's great. All right. So then, where was your basic training?
Lackland Air Force Base.
Lackland Air Force Base, where everybody goes for the
Yeah.
Air Force. How was basic training?
Oh, it was fun. I had fun. I mean, I was there 2 extra weeks, but I had fun.
What kept you there 2 extra weeks?
My mouth may or may not have told somebody some choice words at 4 o'clock in the morning. People don't like that. So I got to spend 2 extra weeks there. But I tell you what, those 2 extra weeks that I was there was awesome. I think only really 1 week of that was back to real basic stuff. The 2 weeks I was there, they went to Warrior. What was that, Warrior training or whatever?
Warrior Week. Yeah.
Warrior Week. So I was basically had free reign for a week, and then they came back and they had classes that I'd already been to, so I didn't have to do any of that. So it was easy.
Oh, really? So
yeah.
they just kept you back just to keep you back. They didn't put you through any really additional training.
No, I'd have loved to gone through Warrior Week again. That was a blast. I loved it.
Right. Okay, so well, in basic training, did any instructors stand out? Do you remember any of them?
Sergeant Hemphill. He was my first instructor. He was had first flight with a blue rope, so he had something to prove. It was not fun. There's probably a reason why I got kicked out of his. And then I want to say his name was Master Sergeant Myrick. He was ex-security forces. He was the guy I got recycled into. He had a tech sergeant with him, but I cannot remember that guy's name to save my life.
How did you stay in touch with your family while you were in basic?
Payphones and the little calling cards. Couldn't have cell phones. Couldn't do any of that.
Yeah, that's how it was for me.
Yeah,
they still have the payphones.
Yep, I got to use my cell phone the day before graduation, either the day of or the day before, something like that.
I don't even think I had a cell phone at that time. But yeah. So how many phone calls did you get, like, for the pay phones? Like,
technically, how many was I supposed to get, or how many did I make? I may or may not have swindled my way into what was that, that pad cleaning crew? Yeah, and there was 2 or 3 of you down there cleaning. 2 of you cleaned while one was usually on the phone. So I think I called. Only supposed to call like twice. I think I ended up calling like 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
All right. So you get done with basic training, and then did you have a tech school? Okay, so then where was that?
Lackland Air Force Base.
Yeah. Didn't go very far, did you?
No, literally like right across the base a little bit.
Now, did it feel different? I mean, was it? Because I know for me, I mean, I didn't go very far either. I went to Shepherd, but it was a completely different atmosphere.
The first couple weeks, it still kind of felt like basic, and then you kind of felt more freedoms. You know that, hey, it's now after 4 o'clock. It's after training day. Go do whatever you want. Is this a test? Like, so I mean, it took a little while, but yeah, eventually it was more like what I would say is college. It felt more like college. Go to school during the day and then do whatever you wanted at night. So, but yeah, it was fun.
All right. How long was your tech school?
Was supposed to be 13, ended up being 16.
Did you get in trouble again?
Kind of. I didn't get in trouble. I just happened to be with people who got in trouble. So I was guilty by association at that one. Yeah.
All right, so
there was another 2-week washback.
All right, so we did some extra time in.
That was 1 week washback.
Oh, 1 week.
Yeah, I think I got washed back to Team 2, or I was on Team 2 and got washed to Team 3.
So give me kind of your daily routine in tech school as a cop. MP. Were you MP, SP?
SF.
SF.
Security Forces.
Security Forces. Okay. So,
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, give me about it.
It was 12 years ago. I got to think about this. I couldn't tell you what time we woke up. I want to say that we had to be in formation by 7:30. So you either woke up and went to chow, or you had chow in your room, something like that. So depending on the day, I'd either go to chow or I'd have chow in the room. 7:30 we had to form up, march over to the building, form up again outside the building, and then usually go to class um, between 11 and 1. Anywhere between that time frame, you'd get released to go to lunch. So you go to lunch. I ate like a fat kid every time I went to the chow hall. I can tell you right now that my go-to meal was cheeseburger with chili on top of it and with chili cheese fries. And I'd have 2 cheeseburgers and chili cheese. I don't know how I stayed skinny the whole time, but I ate like a fat kid. So then we would do that. I want to say we got released between 3:30 and 4 every day. And then from 4 o'clock on, it just kind of depended what was going on. Either hang out with a couple people or go do things. So I think I was down there probably a month or 2 before I ended up buying a car because I just don't like to be stranded and not have a way to get around. So I'm buying a car and kind of exploring San Antonio a little bit. Went to Corpus Christi a few times, so it wasn't too bad.
What was your favorite part about San Antonio?
Nothing. I hate San Antonio. The weather, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate San Antonio. Every time I go back, I still don't like it.
Really?
Yeah.
You ever hit the Riverwalk?
Yeah, I did. It was alright.
Yeah.
It was cool, but still don't like San Antonio. I guess because I spent, probably my first 7 months of my Air Force career on that base. Don't like it.
Okay, so you get through all your training, and then where's your first duty assignment?
Right, Patterson Air Force Base. Yeah, right down the road.
All right. So tell me what that was like. The transition from all your training, being out west most of your life, now coming to the east.
Well, I came here for a girl. You know, stupid high school kid. She lived in Wisconsin. I lived here, so this was the closest I could get. So I was very reserved when I got here. Basically went through training, went home. I actually ghosted my dorm for a while because one of the guys that was in training with, he was married, but his wife hadn't moved in with him yet. So I ended up moving into his house with him. And then when his wife moved in, I ended up going in with another buddy of mine who I also was in class with. So I think for the 3 years I was supposed to have my dorm, I only stayed in it collectively 2 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
You had to show up for your dorm inspections though. Right?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, my room was always in dorm inspection. All it did was I had the bare essentials in there, and that was it.
Yeah.
Bed was always made, and yeah.
Nice.
It wasn't too bad.
So what was your specific duty here at Right Pat?
I didn't really have a specific duty. I mean, it kind of changes on a day-to-day basis depending on posting. You'd either work a gate, you'd work a patrol, you'd work the flight line. Just kind of depended on the day. As a newer airman, you worked mainly gate and flight line. This is basically where they teach you. I mean, you gotta learn all the policies and procedures for the base and kind of what your job is about. I mean, you learn the bare basics in AIT, obviously, and then you come to a base and it's like they retrain you completely because the way they do something here is different than the way they do it there. And so, I mean, that I think phase 1 is what they call it when you first get here, lasted a month or 2 maybe, and then you went to flight, and then you were in like training there for flight for another 90 days, I want to say, and then they would open you up for QC, which you take a test to get certified to do something. So I think the first test is entry controller, basically gates. So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Now, did you find that the differences between gate and flight line and your other jobs or locations, I should say, did you find that there were significant differences?
Yeah. I mean, flight line, there's different things you're worried about. You know, you have in-flight emergencies. You have, you know, a hostage takeover of an airplane. It's a larger area that you're in charge of. Where gates, it's who comes in and out of the base. I mean, the gates is easy.
What were your working hours like?
When I first started, we were working 3 to 11. So it was actually pretty nice because I got to give the big up yours to my dad and my stepmom, because they were like, you understand that when you grow up, you can't sleep in till noon every day. Well, little did they know, I got a job where I could sleep in till noon every day. So I mean, it was the greatest. Swings was the greatest time of my life. I mean, if we had the right people, and I mean, hell, we used to go out and party every night. Stay out till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Wake up at 1 o'clock. Go to work. It was perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect single party boy life. It was fun.
So you're here. Was there any other recreational stuff that you did, or that you enjoyed?
Every sport.
What sports are you?
Mainly when I was here, I played flag football and basketball. That was the main sports. Tried playing softball. Wasn't a huge softball fan at the time, so I'm stuck with football and basketball, and it was a blast.
Yeah.
That's when I knew that. Damn it! Why did I join the military? I should have gone to college and played sports. It was a fun time.
That's right. Now, did you were you stationed anywhere else other than Wright Pat?
Yep, after Wright Pat, I was here until 2011, and then I went to Eglin Air Force Base down in Florida for 2 years. I was a combat arms instructor at that point in time, so that's what kind of got me the PCS to Florida. Got PCS to a base that had no range, that had no combat arms section. What what I ended up finding out is when Eglin did their Manning document and sent it up to the Air Force to let them know what their bodies were for certain things when they sent it up for the armory working, they sent it up as CADM bodies instead of like security forces bodies. For an armory, if you're at a base with only an armory, you need a combat arms NCOIC and an armory NCOIC. That's it. You need 2 bodies. Well, I ended up being body number 4, and then 5, 6, and 7 followed behind me, and eventually an 8th guy came. Yeah. So we were at a base that had no range, and we had to try to make ourselves useful. So we ended up teaming up with the Hurlburt Field, which is 10 minutes away, and they are the ones who had the range. So we would actually, Eglin was a piece of cake, just bad leadership, but a piece of cake. We had I think we only worked like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Like worked. I mean, we came to work every day, but actually going to the firing line was only like Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So it was easy.
Now, what were you doing at the firing line?
I mean, qualifying cops mainly.
Okay.
Doing pistol and rifle qualifications. You know, we have a couple weeks of heavy weapons a few times, so we'd have to do heavy weapons training from time to time. That was about it.
What'd you do out in Eglin for recreation?
I didn't really do a whole lot when I was in Eglin. Tried playing football once there. What I learned though is going from one base to another, trying to play sports without being well known. It's kind of hard to get in, or not having been there for a while. As well as I was 4 years older, and actually 5 years older, and 20 pounds heavier, and probably a lot slower. So my athletic prowess wasn't completely on at that time, but not a whole lot. I had my first kid right before I left here, had my second kid not too long after I got there, so it was mainly about just hanging out with the family. That was a lot of what I did there, was just family time.
That's good.
Yeah.
How does your family feel about moving to Florida?
Oh, they loved it. We always want to go back all the time. That's all we ever talk about. God, I hope we can get back to Florida someday. So there's always that potential there.
Yeah. So you spent 2 years in Eglin, and did you end up going anywhere else from
Yep.
that
Then
point?
I went to Arizona for a year,
Uh-uh.
Tucson, Arizona,
Tucson, Luke Air Force Base.
Davis Monthan.
Dave,
God,
okay,
no, if
Dave.
I was at Luke, you wouldn't see me right now. I wouldn't be here right now. Davis Monthan Air Force Base, the Boneyard, the worst place I've been. I will say it right now, the worst base I've ever been to.
Hmm.
You couldn't pay me enough money to go back.
Hmm.
I call it Little Mexico. If had never gone to Mexico, but if I gone there, I can imagine this would what it'd be like. It was very dirty, very warm. To me, it was very poverty stricken. I mean, it wasn't a very nice area. I mean, we'd hear gunshots. Right, I think my second night there was gunshots right outside my house because my house backed up to one of the roads, and in the neighborhood right off that there was gunshots. I mean, we had murders happening blocks away from the entrance to the base. Yeah, not a great place. Also, there was proprietary jurisdiction, which that means that the city owned the base, and we were basically just security guards there. And anything that happened with somebody who wasn't military affiliated, we always had to call out the local PD, which was Tucson PD, and it was stupid. It was absolutely dumb. The worst base, just the worst base ever. I went there as combat arms. They actually needed me when I first got there, and then they had people coming back from deployment, so they got really fat, and the flights got really small. So they asked me and a buddy to, hey, flights need you guys to backfill for a month. Do you mind doing it? And we're like, I've been doing CADM for 4 years at this time. So I was like, a break won't be bad. I miss being a cop sometimes. And yeah, little did we know, a month turned into 6. And in that 6 months, both me and him hit the eject button and ended up getting out. I got out, and my official separation was August 1st of 14. His was, I want to say September 1st of 14 or September something of 14. So, but yeah, that base kind of killed it for both of us. Between that and all the cutbacks that were going on and rollbacks that were happening, and we were already living a hell. So it was, and our senior leadership they tried talking both of us into staying. We were both great NCOs, but we were already living hell. He had just gotten out of divorce. I'm playing Russian roulette with my marriage, and them coming up going, we need people like you around for when it gets worse. It's gonna get worse than it is now? No, I'm good. Don't get me wrong though, the grass wasn't greener, but still, it was, I don't know.
So what did you do once you got out?
Tried a few different things. The first job that was offered to me was a life insurance salesman. So I was like, sure, I'll give it a shot. I couldn't get into life insurance. I had to study it and try to pass a state board, and every time I started studying, I'd fall asleep. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that anymore. So then I applied for the post office. It's like, mail carrier, I got this. Go walk around and give mail out. That was fun for a month, and then working 60 hours a week, not getting to see the family, but on Sundays if I was lucky, and that wore on me very quickly. So then I quit that because I was kind of promised a job on base. But for some reason, USA Jobs and resumes is stupid. And you gotta hit the right words and keywords, and that part where I was stationed there at Wright Pat as a cop for 5 years wasn't enough. So never did get that job. So I was unemployed for 3 months. I ended up going and working at the Community Blood Center / Community Tissue Center here in Kettering, or there in Kettering. It's basically a warehouse workers. I think what were we called? something materials coordinator, something like that. Basically, it was supply chain. Um, Fun job, just what the potential for growth wasn't really there. And I'd already been passed over for 2 promotions and outworked both of them, so I went and found something new, and right now I work as a forklift maintenance dispatcher for a Toyota company,
Hmm.
and they love me. It's gonna be sad to leave them, but they love me. And it's a fun place to work. So
Now, going back to when you're in, um, did you deploy at all?
yeah, I went to Iraq in 2009, and I went to UAE in 2008.
Okay, and let's start with Iraq real quick. So you went to Iraq in 2009, right? So that's still pretty. That's a pretty big conflict at that time.
Yeah.
How was that experience?
To admit it, I loved it. It's like that saying that they say, you know, you're in a place that you never want to be, and then as soon as you leave, you miss it, and that's kind of my back centered. It's kind of what I guess it's the brotherhood that was there. I think my favorite thing that I love about deployments is not having a cell phone. Like that's the one thing that I loved most is you have control over who you talk to and when you want to talk to them. So you can't be bothered by friends, family, salesmen, anything, everything. I mean, you know, your bills are very little, and really, all you get as much as you want to eat for free. So go to the gym whenever you want. Work. It was awesome. I love deployments. I miss them, but at the same time, never deployed with a family, so I don't know how that would be either. But I will admit though that I miss certain aspects of deployments.
Now, what was your job?
In Iraq, I was a 50 cal gunner. I had the big M2 50 cal machine gun hooked up to a Humvee, and went there thinking I was going to do one thing and ended up doing completely opposite. When I went there, I thought I was going to be PSD for OSI, basically personal security detail for OSI, when they would go out on their missions and do whatever. Soon before we left, I learned that was not going to be the case because of the pre-deployments that we went to. So it ended up just being base security on a base that if I shot my gun, I'd have gone to jail. So it was what it was. But it was still fun. The bad part is I wish that would have been my first deployment, not my second deployment. Because my first deployment I took for granted and hated it. But if I would have gone to Iraq my first deployment, which again still loved it, but I would have probably had more fun in UAE than I did. So.
All right. Well, in Iraq, did you encounter any sort of conflicts?
I mean, we got mortared daily for the first 3 months I was there. Then there was a good quiet period, and then it was just here, there. That was about it. Nothing more, nothing less. Got shot at a few times, but nothing too major. I never got to shoot back, unfortunately, because I do remember I got shot at one time while I was in the turret. I got really excited. I was like, "Oh, please shoot at me one more time." I haven't got to shoot this baby in 6 months. Just give me a reason. Never got it. But yeah, it was kind of quiet. We're in Kirkuk. We're up north, where the Kurds were. So, but the threat of that Kurdish and Iraqi civil war breaking out at any time was also a big threat while we were there. Because that's a big. I mean, it's still a big threat, but. It was pretty quiet though while I was there.
Now, UAE, how was that deployment?
Well, it was my first deployment, so I hated it. Really hot, just boring, really, because it's one of those bases. There's no threat, but when there's no threat, that just means politics gets kicked up, and then everybody wants to. Oh, the threat is real. Yeah, like that tumbleweed right there is gonna roll and hit me, or stupid stuff. But looking back at it after being in Iraq, UA was cake. I mean, it was completely and utterly easy. It just me being brand new, knowing nothing about deployments, I hated it. Got to go off base one time. Went to a water park. That was fun. I will admit that was fun. Seeing the only 7-star hotel in the world was cool, while floating in the lazy river. So yeah, it wasn't bad. Like I said, I wish I would have been there longer though, or had gone there the second time, because I'd have taken more advantage of going off base and seeing certain things. Because I mean, I went to Dubai when I went to the water park, but they had was that the Mall of the Emirates or something, where they have an indoor snow or an indoor ski resort in one of the hotels or one of the malls. I was a huge snowboarder at the time, but I never got a chance to go there. But yeah, I would have. Wish I could have taken advantage of that though.
And what was your job in while you were deployed there?
UAE. It kind of changed. At first, I was supposed to be just search pit, where we searched anything and everything that came on base. And then there was somebody started a feud between flight and search pit, so they all got intertwined for like a month or two, where I ended up having to go work entry control points or go work in a tower. The towers there sucked because it was one person in a tower, and working midnight shift with one person in a tower. It's hot outside, it's dark outside, it sets you up for failure pretty quickly. Never got in trouble, never got caught sleeping, but yeah, there was a few times that I guarantee the way we kept busy is we'd call each other from tower to tower. Like this tower would call this tower, so you better hope that you like that person, because if you don't, you're probably not going to call them, and yeah. So that was how we stayed awake, was we'd call or talk to each other or something. But yeah, other than that, it wasn't bad. Looking back on it, it wasn't bad. I mean, we had a pool. I mean, hell, I was probably the tannest I'd ever been in my life while I was there. Went to the pool every day. So worked out, went to the pool, got a tan. I feel like the dudes off of Jersey Shore, GTL. Gym, tan, laundry. That's about what I did there.
That's great. All right, so coming back, you've been you got out of the Air Force around 2014.
Yeah,
is when you got out. You moved back to Ohio, tried a few jobs here. What are you doing now?
Like I said, right now I'm a forklift dispatcher, but I'm getting ready to go back into active guard reserve as a firearms instructor again. Going back on active duty. Something I love, something I miss. I mean, you can't beat what you get there. Civilian world isn't what I thought it would be. You know, it's very backstabbing. It's very me. There's no camaraderie. There's no friendships per se. Yeah, you got friends while you're at work, but most places, as soon as you leave work, that's it. I mean, I got close to a lot of people at work. As soon as we left, I never hear from them. So and I mean, I still talk to people that I served with. Hell, I got a guy that I wasn't even best friends with him for a year, 2 years. I didn't know him until I moved back here, and now me and him are like brothers. He lives in Jersey. I live here. We talk at least a couple times a month, just see how things are. But I mean, yeah, me and him are close, just from that bond. Um, so I miss that. I mean,
Yeah, I can understand that.
yeah.
Very much understand that. So, with that being said, so you stay in contact with some of the guys that that you served with that, and you said was this one of the guys that you deployed with?
No, actually, I didn't meet him till I got here. Well, I knew him. I knew of him while I was here. I think he got here right after I did, or right before I left. And I didn't know him, but I knew of him. He kind of ended up hanging out with the crowd that I was hanging out with at the time. And then I left and had heard about him, but really nothing about it. And then when I moved back, because he was still hanging out with the crowd that I used to hang out with when I was here, I came back into it, and me and him got close. I mean, one of those things like, why did we not know each other 4 years ago type thing.
That's good.
Probably a good thing we didn't, but it was, I probably wouldn't be married, have kids right now if I did, but probably a good thing I didn't know him at the time.
Right. So are you affiliated with any veteran organizations?
I'm not actually. I don't know why. I don't really have a good reason why. I think a lot of mine, it's not that I'm not proud of being a vet, because I am. I just, because I have a cop background, I have a security minded thing. I don't like to put it out there, I guess you could say. Mainly for my own security. I don't want to be a target. I love my wife and kids. I don't want to make them a target when they're with me. So really, the closest people to me are about the only people who know. But yeah, I mean, I can see in the future there's probably there's a good chance I will be, but I don't know, right now I'm still so security minded with the world, the way the world is today, and I am paranoid. I mean, I'll tell you what, even when we're sitting in church, it took me until probably just recently to be able to close my eyes and bow my head during our prayers. Because it used to be always check in the exits, always having a plan. If something happens, this is what I'm doing.
Is this part of your training?
I don't know. I don't know if this is part of training, something that's just been hounded into me so much that I can't sit with my back to a door. And I don't know what part of that is that way. I get anxious if I do. I don't like crowded areas. And I don't know if that's part of training, if that's just because of what I've seen. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I know that there's that glitch. Real quick. I don't know what it is, but I just know that there's that little glitch there. It's something that drives me nuts. I mean, I know you've probably seen me look that way a few times.
Yeah.
And it's just, I want to know what's around. I need to be able to see, where the exits are. That's the first thing I did when I walked into the room. Where are my exits? Just because it's out of force of habit, I guess. I don't know.
I can understand that. Well, we'll go ahead and I just have a few more questions for you.
Yeah, of course.
So with your military experience, how do you feel that has helped you? What characteristics or elements?
Leadership's the biggest one. I'd say leadership, and really for me it was the ability to talk to anybody and everybody. And I think I learned that more as a firearms instructor, being a instructor where you don't really see rank after. I mean, there's rank obviously, but there's not when you're the instructor. That's your student. They have to listen to you. So you learn how to talk to anybody and everybody. I mean, I don't have a problem going up to the CEO of a company and saying, "Hi, my name's blah blah blah," and I know other people who are terrified to do stuff like that. So I mean, I think that's one of them. Leadership's one. Camaraderie is a huge one. I mean, even now, even if it's somebody I really don't like, I'm still watching their back. I'll still stand up for them, even if I don't like this person. There's one person in particular I can think of. I hate him. I don't want to say hate. That's a strong word, but I highly dislike this person. But yet, if there's anything that's ever happened that he's been come into question, I've always had his back. So I don't know if it's just loyalty. Maybe is another thing that I've learned from it. but that's the biggest things that I've taken away.
That's good. How do you feel, I guess overall, what would you say, kind of sum up your story, what would you say is unique about your story?
I don't know if there's really anything unique. I mean, I had a phenomenal military career. I mean, I've had so much fun. I've met so many great people. I've done, I haven't done a lot of things, but I mean, I've done enough things that, you know, I'm happy with. You know, I like who I am. When I'm in the military, let me reiterate that. When I'm in the military, I like who I am. I like what I do. It's that safe space, I guess you could say. Um, I guess I was just built for it, or I'm wired for it. I guess that would be what's unique about it for me. You know, there's people who are made for it, and there's people who aren't. And, you know, for a while I thought I was part of the aren't, and after being out, learned, no, okay, yeah, I was part of it. I was wired for it, so, yeah.
Last question. Um, what message would you like to leave for future generations?
Try the military. I honestly think anybody and everybody should have to. I honestly think everybody should have to serve 2 years. I really do. You learn so much in just 2 years. Hell, you learn so much just in basic. Um, where I have to try to be politically correct with this because this could get really bad. It's just I feel like a country we're not strong like we used to be. I mean, let's face it. Less than 1% of the the United States population is served in the military or is serving. That's an issue. Hell, even our leaders. I think there's a large amount of our leaders in the government have never served in the military. So it teaches so much leadership. I mean, it teaches you how to care about people for God's sake. I mean, I care about people more than I ever thought I would. I guess trust is something you learn there too. You know, you always got to trust your wingman, as they say. You know, so I honestly think everybody should give it a shot. Yeah, like I said, there are people who aren't meant for it, but you know what? You still learn quite a bit while you're in there for that little bit of time. I mean, I don't care if it's Air Force, Army, Marines, Navy, Coast Guard, whatever. You still learn those basic core values. Yeah, basically. So.
That's good, man. Well, do you feel like there's anything that we might have missed that you'd like to talk about?
Not really. We went over quite a bit. Pretty much an open book when it comes to this stuff. I loved what I did. I love what I do. Um, Sorry it took 2 years to do it, but
It's alright.
um, yeah, I mean, it's always something that I would never take it back. If I could redo things, I would redo quite a few things, but I definitely would have stayed in the military. I mean, there's a few things that I would have done that probably would have kept me away from the military, but I don't know what it would have done in that time. But I don't know. I do think though, if going back to high school, knowing what I know now, I don't know if I would have still picked this route. Probably would have in the end. You know, tried something, and if it didn't work out, then I would have gone back. You know, but try to use some of the other abilities that I had first before doing this, but it probably would have ended up at the same result of being in the military.
That's good. All right, man. Well, Matt, thank you very much. Thank you for your service.